Another round of applause for Pedro Camacho, who is the CEO of Nearsoft, coming all the way from Portugal. And he says he's ready to connect with you. So it doesn't matter where he's coming from, but if you hear any part of Africa and you want to connect with them and make good use of AI, integrating systems in digital banking, speak to Pedro. And I really love your example you gave about what APIs are. Getting to the restaurant and then requesting or making your orders. And that is the API you are dealing with. They are standing in between the customer and the people at the kitchen. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, talking about APIs, talking about security in the financial system and the financial ecosystem. One thing rings the bell always, and that is security. What do you do about that? What is it about security that after putting up all these important systems, how do we secure it? How do we secure the data that is in it? How do we secure this information that are being stored in them? A wonderful team from the Ghana FinTech and Payment Association President's Initiative, together with FinTech Management Solution. They sat down, looked at the ecosystem, saw how monies, cryptos, digital currencies are being moved from one place to the other, from one location to another location. And they were looking at how secure this movement can be. Because most often people are thinking about how secure is my system and how secure is my wallet, how secure is my account. They thought through it and said, you know what, when we start talking about cybersecurity or security in the cyberspace, we have a lot of people moving away or not really giving their attention to it. So let's think of something. And this is what we want to think about. Let's put it in a form of theater or play, such that we can replay this whole thing to people to understand the risks and how to mitigate it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have in our midst the president of the Ghana FinTech and Payment Association and also the director for FinTech Management Solution in the house. Presenting to us next is their new modeled approach of dealing with cyber-enabled crime. So ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome next to give us his speech, the president of the Ghana FinTech and Payment Association, Mr. Martin Kwame Awoga. Please let's give him a round of applause as he comes on stage. So you see him on stage, kindly do me the honors. Don't stop clapping. Keep putting your hands together for him. Show him some love as he comes. I'm not feeling the energy in the house. Can we just give him a round of applause? Yes, 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 yes. Mr. Awoga. I call him my president.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I feel the energy in the house is very low. Good morning, everyone. Yes, so I bring you warm greetings from West Africa, particularly Ghana. And it's such a joy and excitement to know that your MC for the day is actually a brother from Ghana. And I'm here to, introduce you to some of the amazing things we are doing there and how we can leverage on this solution to accelerate digital financial services uptake, adoption of fintech services and solutions, and how we can propel the digital economy forward, not just in Ghana or Nigeria or Kenya, but across the continent. So when the MC initially mentioned or asked, if there was anybody from Ghana in the house, I decided not to raise my hand because I knew I was going to make this presentation. And so please bear with me as we go through some of the discussions that we've been having. Now, one of the things that you can all attest to is the fact that digital financial services or technology-enabled solutions or improvement in our daily lives has become the norm. I think this is something that we can all correlate with. And the fact that, when you basically use your phone and your laptop, you are engaged online. And everybody is, using their phones, using their laptops, and have so many things doing online. And even as we are sitting here today, even as we are listening to this presentation and others that would come, the panel discussions and everything, there would be a lot of people who would also be, using their phone to do other things, to, have communications. And so it has enabled an ecosystem, not just in Africa, but in the entirety of the world. So it has basically made the world a global village. And this, whilst we are busy building the solutions, whilst we are using technology to solve, basic problems in Africa, you name it, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and all that. In that same instance, we are also not talking about the risks. We are only focused. So far, I have seen from all the presentations I've done, not just in Africa, but across the world, that in as much as we meet to talk about fintech, to talk about other technology-enabled services, we are only focused on the opportunities, thereby not really paying attention to the innumerable risks involved. And so this brings me to the issue of cybersecurity. How do we maintain our security online? How are we protecting ourselves online? Because one of the things I know is the fact that, and this is a quote from Robert S. Mueller III, who was the former FBI director in the USA. And he did mention something which is critical, and I think we should all pay attention to that. And that is, and I quote, "I am convinced that there are only two types of companies, those that have been hacked and those that will be." So he did mention that there are only two types of companies, those that have been hacked and those that would be. And this does not only permeate to only companies, but even us as individuals, we can equally be hacked. Who agrees with me here? I want this session to be very engaging, so who agrees with me? I want to show by hands. If you agree that you as an individual or a company can be hacked, let's see by hands. Hello? Am I talking to somebody? I'm not seeing enough hands. Can we see by hands? Yes. So let's make it more engaging. Let's have an interactive forum. So he continues by saying, and even these two categories of people, which is those that have been hacked and those that would be, are converging into one category. So these categories of people are converging into one category, which is companies that have been hacked and will be hacked again. So even as an individual, once you have been hacked or experienced any hacking attempts before, you can equally be hacked over and over again. And that applies to even companies. So let us understand the narrative here, that even as we are here to talk about opportunities, I want to also open our eyes to some of these issues, which is cyber-related, cybercrime, and this is on the rise. I made this presentation just a week ago in Nigeria, and in Lagos, Nigeria, at the Regulatory Technology Conference and Awards event, just about 2 weeks ago. And one of the things we have come to accept is the fact that in as much as technology is allowing for the building of solutions and opportunities, creating opportunities for all of us, there is that also acceleration in the rise of crime, cybercrime in particular. So you have all of us seated here thinking about how we can make or build solutions to make our lives better. But there are other people who are sitting somewhere also thinking about how they can hack you and I, or how they can evade that privacy of yours digitally, And so these are very pertinent issues and very critical to what I'm about to discuss here. So I was actually called to, do a presentation on, I think there was supposed to be a speaker who would have presented on building trust in mobile money and digital credit for underserved populations, strategies for expanding access to unbanked communities. But I said, these are things that we can always relate to. But then, let's bring some twist to it. And that is why I decided to go with this topic today. Because, we come and all the time, we are always looking at the lecture-based approach and lifestyle when it comes to some of these complex issues in the digital world. And you can bear with me, most of us here do not even understand all the jargons and all the complexities when it comes to technology, and that is a fact. You cannot take that away. That is the fact. Not everybody understands the complexities or the jargons in technology. And so we need to break it down. And how do we break it down? And so we decided to do something in Ghana called Building Digital Trust Through Storytelling, an innovative model for cybercrime education in a complex technological era. I think one of the things you can all bear with me is the fact that growing up in Africa, you would notice that if you put something in a book for an African to read, they would not read it. And so if it is knowledge that would even benefit them, they are not interested. And how many of you remember going to class or going for lectures and always you can relate to what your lecture taught or, refer easily to your pamphlets that were given? I mean, these are realities in Africa. One of the things that has stuck with us through generations is the fact that storytelling has always permeated every culture in Africa. Let me repeat that again. Storytelling has always permeated every culture in Africa, irrespective of your jurisdiction. You can be in East Africa, but storytelling has done what a lecture-based style approach of educating people has done. So, one of the things we have understood is the fact that storytelling has even enabled passing down Africa's history through the decades, through the generations. And so we are leveraging on this innovation. We are bringing this back to be able to leverage on that and educate ourselves, educate the, not so digital savvy population in our country or in our continent. And you bear with me, sitting here today, about 3 in 5 people in Africa are not digitally savvy. That's the reality we are faced with. That's the reality. But what are we doing to make sure that we bridge that gap? Are we going to sit down aloof and wait on solutions that will be shoved down our throats? Or we can leverage on what already exists in our continent to be able to make that information widespread? So these are, things for you to ponder about and think through and understand that we are actually at the precipice of either leveraging on technology for good or for bad. So let us digest some of these issues very carefully. So one of the things I noticed is the fact that Tanzania does not have a specific legislation dealing with cybersecurity. And I can tell you that when you talk about technology or leveraging on technology for good, goes hand in hand with cybersecurity. You cannot make that any clearer. So, I'm going to show you through this presentation some of the case studies that is happening in other places in Africa that I think and I believe Tanzania can leverage on as successful modules to accelerate a cybersecurity ecosystem. And so you'll be seeing such as we go on. Thank you. So before I start again, sorry for my long introduction. I think that was really needed, by the way. Thank you. So before we start, this is something I want us to ponder about. And I think I've already mentioned it already. How many of us here understand complex text tech jargons in cybersecurity, fraud, and hacks? How many of us here? Can I see by hands? How many of us? I'm seeing the most few hands ever. And I can even count them. It's not even up to 5. So it means that we have a problem. Basically, it means we have a very big problem on our hands, which is how we can address leveraging on technology to achieve cyber security related issues. Okay? So ponder over this. I'm going to come back to it. The first question. And the second one is, how do you teach? How do you teach cybersecurity and or digital finance to people who aren't technologically savvy or can't read a report or pick up on cues? How do you teach them? And I've already made a case that these people are not able to pick up these issues because of the huge digital divide or deficit we have in Africa. And I can tell you, prior to COVID, Africa was, accelerating in technology at a very low pace. But during the COVID, what did we realize? We had a surge. We had a boom in technology for good. And that is why we are here today. That's why we need to develop solutions to make sure that we can combat some of these issues. So how do you teach? So before I end the presentation, I would like to make sure that some of you have some answers to these questions for me. And I'll be coming around to ask, because I'm seeing the faces and I know those I'm going to ask to give me their response to some of these questions. So initially I said there's a huge, please the next slide. Next slide, please. So I have already mentioned or talked about the huge digital deficits we have in Africa. We have been exacerbated into the technological era without proper preparation. We have not educated the masses enough about the good, the bad, and the worst when it comes to how they engage online. We have not. So talking about fintech here, one thing we need to understand is the fact that the most likely attacked industry when it comes to cybercrime, or the most often attacked industry when it comes to cybercrime, is the financial sector. And that is where fintech is at the core. Let that sink in, please. So we have a huge digital deficit, and how are we addressing that? So we can say all the nice things. Funny enough, I'm also the president of the Ghana FinTech and Payments Association. So this is at the core of what I do. In as much as we are building the opportunities, we need to sync that with the risks. And that's what I'm here today to help you assimilate. So we have that issue of a huge digital deficit in Africa. How do we do that? How do we make sure within this short span of time, we are able to bring the message down to the masses? That's what we developed as a module. Next slide. So from this slide, this slide was actually prepared for Nigeria. So I'll just be able to, tell you some of the issues. So Africa loses over $4 billion annually to cybercrime. That is a huge deficit. $4 billion to cybercrime every year. And this is money that is going into someone's pocket. And this is money that can be used for a lot of good on our continent. I mean, this is even a country's GDP. In Africa, a whole country's GDP. Even some countries are not even close to this GDP or this $4 billion. So the cyber crime space is a very lucrative space. It's a very lucrative space. But I don't think any of us here are engaged in that space. Thank you for that. And I already said 3 in 5 people in Africa are not digitally savvy or literate. 3 in 5. 3 in 5 people. Let that sink in as well. So, One of the things we also identified is that about 37% of financial institutions report fraud incidents. Only 37% of them report fraud incidents. So if approximately about 30% or even 40% of financial institutions in Africa are the ones reporting fraud incidents, think about the 60% that are not reporting their fraud incidents. That means the issue is more pervasive. That means the $4 billion that we are talking about, the $4 billion that we are talking about is more than that. This is what is captured. So let's just think about what is not captured. And then fraud, as we can currently assimilate, is usually executed currently via mobile banking apps. And I know mobile money is one of the fastest growing industries in the fintech space here in Tanzania. So just imagine the amount of fraud going on these channels or through these channels. USSD platforms, SMS or phishing scams, basically social engineering scams. Okay? Now, these top channels for fraudsters are social engineering being the leading technique. So any of you who uses mobile money here is basically, fit to be hacked. And I think all of us here have a mobile money account. Please let that sink in as well. So I did mention earlier that Tanzania does not have a specific regulation dealing with cybersecurity. And I think to all the leaders in this room, one of the things you should start working aggressively towards is to see how you can make sure that government comes up with a legislation that can make cybersecurity more tailored towards some of these issues that we are talking about today, or that we are going to see happen here today. Currently, the laws which are in place were made before cybersecurity was an issue. So currently, the laws that were made in Tanzania predates the involvement of cybersecurity-related affairs or issues in the country. And I think this is something that we need to look at carefully. And so I'm going to share what Ghana is doing. Please, the next few slides. Please go forward. Next. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. The next one. Yes. So I'm going to share something with you on what Ghana is doing and how this can be a case study for Tanzania. So I know that in Tanzania currently, cybersecurity related issues is regulated by the Tanzania Communications Regulatory Authority. Please, is that true? Can I see by hands? Is that true? Okay, solid. So, this was the case also in Ghana. Before cybersecurity became an issue, the National Communications Authority in Ghana was the sole institution or authority or government agency responsible for cybersecurity related issues. But in 2019-2020, that changed. What happened? We saw the establishment of the Cybersecurity Authority, which is a full-fledged agency driven or taken out of the National Communications Authority. And in this case, in Tanzania, for instance, the Tanzania Communications Regulatory Authority can now lead the charge for the setting up of an authority called the Cybersecurity Authority, which would handle cybersecurity-related issues and crimes. That is one. That's what we did in Ghana. And then we gave it a legal backing, because I know these agencies always have a legal backing. So we established under the Cybersecurity Authority an Act 1038, which was done in 2020, in the year 2020. So, and what is the mandate of this Cybersecurity Authority? Three simple mandates. Three simple but very important mandates, which I think we should all look at. That is what? Regulate cybersecurity activities in Ghana. 2, lead national cybersecurity awareness campaigns. Let's take this very carefully, or let's understand this very carefully. Lead national cybersecurity awareness campaigns. Lead national cybersecurity awareness campaigns. And let's also understand that cybersecurity basically involves anything you are doing digitally or online. So let's understand that. That means anything that has to do with even financial awareness, scams, romance scams, phishing, social engineering are all here. And then coordinate cyber incident responses. So these were the 3 mandates of the institution or the authority or agency. Now, since its establishment, this institution has done so well and has received an international recognition. And this recognition is a Tier 1 award, which was given to them by the Global Cybersecurity Index for our cyber incident response action. So the Cybersecurity Authority in Ghana is ranked 3rd in Africa by the International Telecommunications Union in 2021. And like I said, we also received a Tier 1 status, which means the institution or the agency is recognized for its strong legal, technical, and organizational frameworks. Strong legal, technical, and organizational frameworks. Not just the frameworks, but how these are being implemented on the grounds. So we shouldn't just have acts or bills or institutions just for the sake of it, but the implementation of their mandate is what is very essential. So the first 2 questions I asked, these are the answers. So the first 2 questions I asked, I said, how many of us here understand complex tech jargons in cybersecurity, fraud, and hacks? And I saw the hands. And I said, how do you teach cybersecurity and or digital finance to people who aren't tech savvy or cannot read a report or pick up on cues? And so that brought me to this answer. You tell them a story. You tell them a story. You don't go by teaching them, putting them in a room and telling them all the jargons. They won't understand that. That's not what they are interested in. So you tell them a story that mirrors their own experience. Please, the next slide. You tell them a story that mirrors their own experiences and are easily relatable. And by so doing, you help them recognize the signs, the hotspots, and learn the lessons. You tell them a story. Now, digital literacy is a collaborative effort, and to advance digital financial inclusion or FinTech adoption, as we are all here planning towards, we need to champion digital financial literacy. And I strongly believe that this and the development of the FinTech solutions, the opportunities that we are seeing must go in tandem. They must go hand in hand. They must go hand in hand. So what did we do? We came up with a solution. The next slide, please. We came up with a solution. Our solution is theater for development. Now, if you can look on the slide, one of the things that we understand is that, and feedback from the industry or people who attended this program, they said what? Theater is a more effective way to raise awareness among Ghanaians about their rights and responsibilities than traditional lecture-based approaches. And I can say without any iota of doubt that any, financial awareness campaign that has been done in Africa, most of them went with a lecture-based approach. And let's not also forget that Africa is a very diverse continent with multiple languages. And usually some of these things are done in the English language. But I know Swahili is one of the prominent languages here that is being used to champion some of these interactions. So another person says, storytelling is a powerful tool we can all leverage on because it helps connect better with our audience. And this is very true. And so, this is our solution. This is a solution that we are bringing to make sure that we, reduce or prevent the level that cybercrime is being done these days. Next slide. So we came up with a project called Cyber Heist. Sorry if I'm boring you, please bear with me. we came with a project called Cyber Heist, which is basically what? A thrilling, educational, and yet entertaining and comical play designed to raise awareness about digital financial fraud, scams, data breaches, and cybersecurity threats. And this is not something that we did not do. We have actually tested the case and came up with the results. So the link below, I think those behind the console at the back, if you can click on that YouTube link to play the trailer for our audience, I'll be very excited. Thank you. Then we can continue for them to understand what we are actually talking about. Hello? No. Forward, please. Yeah. No. This link, video preview. Thank you. If you can play that now. Thank you.
Something is happening. 2,000 Ghana cedis from our account.
What the FinTech is going on here?
How could you allow me to be scammed?
Scammed? By who? How?
This girl told me that she worked for the telcos and that they want to validate my mobile money account.
So you are trying to tell me that I've done give away 2,000 Ghana?
Yes, just like that.
Jesus, 40 million and you are behaving like this. If it were to be me, look at my face. I could have killed a lot of people. Aye. See, I am sure there is a cyber heist ongoing, and I am the next victim. What me patience cannot go.
Let me guess. You have been same swap.
Exactly. He has.
So you know.
See, this is the future. This is here. This is tech. Even the first one I stressed. Let me tell you, this one I did not stress. I only sent my number, my Momo pin, and then my.
Let's see.
Hey, your Momo pin. You sent pin.
You know what? I think my family is under attack. Yes.
So this is part of our campaign awareness project where we are hoping to use this platform, leverage on storytelling and education to sensitize our people irrespective of their jurisdiction.
So, Mr. Thompson, we have frozen your account,
praise the
and
Lord.
then we help to recover the funds.
Ayo.
But please,
Omo,
can you
am I?
do something that is very simple for all of us?
I'll do
Please do not share your personal details over the phone.
that.
And you, do not share your personal details over the phone. It is very dangerous.
Please, do we need a replay for that? Do we need a replay? Or it's okay? Did you get the message? Please, can I see by hands those who got the message? Oh, that's, please. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So I think this is a model that we in Accra or Ghana are using to, prevent the complexities that technology is bringing in this era. And I think it's something that is very, laudable, a laudable initiative we can all learn from or use. And so I implored all of you here to go back and see how we can, you can anytime reach me, so we can see how we can leverage on this platform to also do the same or similar thing in Tanzania here. So next slide, please. So this was some of the media publications that we had from the play. And it was really a massive, thing that was done. And you can all, check it out when you have time. Now, please, the next slide. Yes, so these are some of the scenes from the play. And then, next slide, please. Yes, so feedback from Cyber Heist participants. So this is the head of law enforcement and liaison unit at the Cybersecurity Authority in Ghana. And he was actually there. So we had representatives from all the government agencies necessary. So cybersecurity was there. And this is what he said, that he did learn a lot in terms of the boxes that are ticked for him. Mobile money account takeover, Momo fraud or mobile money fraud, fake online shops, recruitment scams, fake data sale, brand impersonation, investment scams, blackmail, cyberbullying, loan app frauds, And I think these are issues that permeates through the fintech industry. And so it's not only an issue that is domiciled in Ghana, but anywhere that's fintech or digital finance is taking root or seeds, we see some of these issues. And the next slide. Yes, so these are some of the feedbacks again. Someone said, I enjoyed every bit of the show. Another said, we seriously need to be conscious of online transactions. And yes, that's a fact. And, another said, the amazing cast and their incredible funny lines. If you were there to actually, experience this, you understand what we are actually talking about. When's the next play? And all that. So we had a lot of support, and this activity or project is still ongoing. It's not a one-time thing. It's still ongoing because it's a replicable solution or module, and it's been actually brought down to our local languages, because in Ghana we have a lot of local languages, so that it can be sent to the secondary schools, universities, the communities, the market squares and places, so that we can demystify cybercrime, we can demystify fintech, or why you need to be a digital savvy or take your digital financial transactions and online transactions seriously and all that. So these were the organizers of the activity, and we continue to employ on governments for their support. And at this juncture, if you don't have any questions, I'd like to end my presentation here. Thank you for having me. Any questions? I think you got a message. Thank you.